DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf doesn't look like he should be one of the fastest men in the NFL. At 6 feet 4 inches and 235 pounds, he's built like a linebacker, but in the open field, he runs like a sprinter. In 2020, Metcalf produced one of the most famous chase down plays in league history. After Arizona's Budda Baker intercepted a pass, he sprinted nearly the length of the field to track him down from behind. The GPS tracking registered him at 22.64 miles per hour, one of the fastest speeds ever recorded by an NFL player. But it's not just highlight plays. Metcalf ran a 4.33 second 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, shocking scouts who doubted his lateral quickness after a neck injury in college. That straight line speed translated immediately. With Seattle, he's consistently among the league leaders in deep ball production, blowing past corners who are often 30 pounds lighter. He's the rare combination of size, power, and track speed, a player who can bully defenders at the line and still outrun everyone once the ball is in the air. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has a nickname that fits perfectly, the Cheetah. Since entering the NFL in 2016, he's been recognized as the league's fastest player, and the numbers back it up. At his pro day, Hill ran a 4.29 second 40-yard dash, one of the fastest times ever recorded. But straight line speed in shorts doesn't always translate to football speed. Hill's did, and then some. With Kansas City, he became a nightmare for defenses, using acceleration that looks impossible on film. From a standstill, he reaches top speed in just a few steps, leaving defensive backs flat-footed. The NFL's GPS trackers routinely clock him above 22 miles per hour, with his top recorded game speed sitting at 23.24 miles per hour on a kick return. It's not just the speed, though. Hill can cut and change direction at full stride, something few players can do without slowing down. That's what makes him so dangerous after the catch, and why even short passes can turn into 70-yard touchdowns. His deep threat ability transformed Kansas City's offense into one of the most explosive units in history, and with Miami, he's only expanded his game. In 2023, he became the first player since 2012 to surpass 1,700 receiving yards, with defenses still unable to contain him despite knowing what's coming. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is built like a defensive end, but runs like a wide receiver. At 6 feet 3 and 247 pounds, he's one of the largest running backs in NFL history. Yet his speed makes him unlike anyone else. The most famous example came in 2018. Against the Jaguars, Henry ripped off a 99-yard touchdown run, tying the longest in league history. On that play, GPS tracking recorded him at over 21 miles per hour, despite carrying a frame that outweighs most defenders by 40 pounds. He stiff-armed 3 different players on his way to the end zone. Henry's size-speed combination is unique. Most power backs slow down once they get into the open field. Henry doesn't. He accelerates. His stride length gives him track-level speed once he breaks past the second level, which is why so many of his highlights are long touchdown runs rather than short yardage grinds. At the NFL Combine, he ran a 4.54 second 40-yard dash at nearly 250 pounds. To put that into perspective, it's comparable to many wide receivers entering the league that same year. And when defenses are worn down late in games, his speed looks even more punishing. Bob Hayes. Bob Hayes wasn't just fast for football, he was the fastest man in the world. Before joining the Dallas Cowboys, Hayes was an Olympic sprinter who won 2 gold medals at the 1964 Tokyo Games, including the 100 meters and the 4x100 relay. His world record speed earned him the nickname Bullet Bob, and when he transitioned to the NFL, he completely changed how the game was played. Hayes joined the Cowboys in 1965 and immediately stretched defenses in a way they had never seen. Cornerbacks couldn't keep up with him in man-to-man coverage. Safeties were forced to drop deeper, and defensive coordinators began experimenting with zone coverage just to contain him. Many credit Hayes with directly influencing the rise of zone defenses in the modern NFL. His impact was instant. As a rookie, he led the league in touchdowns and averaged over 21 yards per catch. No matter how defenses lined up, Hayes could simply outrun them. His Olympic-level speed translated perfectly to the field. The separation he created was unlike anything seen before. Hayes went on to score 71 career touchdowns and helped the Cowboys win Super Bowl VI. Decades later, he remains the only athlete to win both an Olympic gold medal and a Super Bowl ring. Deion Sanders. Nicknamed Primetime, Sanders combined elite athleticism with unmatched confidence, and his speed made him one of the most electrifying players in NFL history. He played cornerback, returned punts and kicks, and even lined up at wide receiver, all fueled by world-class speed. At Florida State, Sanders was already a two-sport star in football and track. He reportedly ran a 4.27-second 40-yard dash, and his track times backed it up. When he entered the NFL in 1989, his speed immediately set him apart. In his first game, he returned a punt 68 yards for a touchdown, showing just how quickly he could change the momentum of a game. As a cornerback, Deion Sanders' speed allowed him to play differently than anyone else. He could press at the line, let a receiver run free, and still catch up with ease. Quarterbacks often avoided throwing his way altogether, and when he did get the ball in his hands, his open field burst turned defense into instant offense. He won 2 Super Bowls, earned 8 Pro Bowl selections, and is remembered as one of the greatest defensive players in league history. But just as importantly, he was also a cultural icon. Everything he did, the strut, the celebrations, the style, was backed up by the fact that nobody on the field was faster. Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson was track fast in football pads. At the 2008 NFL Combine, Johnson ran a 4.24-second 40-yard dash, the fastest electronically timed run in Combine history at the time. That performance shot him up draft boards and earned him the nickname CJ2000, a name that would take on even more meaning a year later. In 2009, Johnson rushed for 2,006 yards, becoming just the 6th player in NFL history to break the 2,000-yard barrier. Johnson routinely turned handoffs into breakaway runs, hitting top speed in seconds and leaving defenders hopelessly chasing from behind. His 91-yard touchdown against the Texans that year remains one of the purest displays of acceleration the league has ever seen. The NFL's GPS trackers didn't exist yet, but teammates and opponents alike swore Johnson was the fastest player they had ever lined up against. His stride was smooth, his burst immediate, and once he found daylight, nobody caught him. Johnson's speed defined his prime years in Tennessee. He was a 3-time Pro Bowler, an All-Pro, and for a stretch, the most dangerous home run threat in football. His career slowed with age, but the legend of his speed never did. To this day, Chris Johnson is remembered as one of the fastest players to ever step onto an NFL field. John Ross III. John Ross entered the NFL with one number attached to his name, 4.22. At the 2017 NFL Combine, Ross ran the fastest 40-yard dash ever recorded at the time, breaking Chris Johnson's long-standing record. The run was so fast, it came with a cost. Ross pulled up with cramps at the finish line and couldn't complete his other drills, but it didn't matter. That single sprint made him a first-round pick. On the field, Ross's speed was real. Defenses respected it from the moment he lined up. In 2019, he flashed that potential with 2 100-yard games to start the season, showing he could turn deep shots into touchdowns instantly. He hit GPS speeds over 21 miles per hour and was one of the league's most dangerous open field runners when healthy. But the problem was staying healthy. Hamstring issues, shoulder injuries, and inconsistent quarterback play derailed his career. Over 5 seasons, Ross never had more than 506 receiving yards in a year, and his NFL journey ended as one of the league's biggest what-ifs. KaVontae Turpin. KaVontae Turpin's road to the NFL was different than most, but once he arrived, his speed made an immediate impact. Undrafted in 2022, Turpin built his reputation in alternative leagues, playing in the USFL, where he was named MVP. The Dallas Cowboys gave him a chance, and in his very first preseason, he reminded everyone why he was special. Against the Chargers, Turpin returned a kickoff 98 yards for a touchdown, and later added an 86-yard punt return touchdown in the same game. His burst and open field vision were undeniable. At just 5'9", 153 pounds, Turpin doesn't win with size or physicality. He wins with acceleration. Once he finds a crease, he's gone. NFL Next Gen Stats recorded him reaching speeds over 21 miles per hour, putting him among the fastest in the league. Few players can change field position in an instant the way Turpin can. While he's still carving out a consistent role on offense, his presence as a returner is already felt. Defenses have to account for him on special teams, and he's one of those rare players who can flip a game with a single touch. Devon Achane. Devon Achane didn't just bring speed to the NFL. He brought track-level acceleration that jumped off the screen the moment he stepped onto the field. A third-round pick out of Texas A&M in 2023, Devon Achane had a decorated track background in addition to football. His 100-meter dash times in high school and college put him on par with elite sprinters, and that explosiveness carried directly into the NFL. At the Combine, he ran a 4.32-second 40-yard dash, confirming what everyone already knew. He was one of the fastest players in his class. With the Miami Dolphins, Devon Achane found the perfect fit. Paired with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in one of the fastest offenses ever assembled, Devon Achane instantly became a home run threat. In Week 3 of his rookie year, he exploded for 203 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos, routinely breaking into the open field and hitting top-end speeds over 21 miles per hour. What makes Achane's speed unique is how quickly he gets there. His first 3 steps are lightning quick, and once he finds daylight, defenders almost immediately lose the angle. He doesn't need much space. A small crease is enough for him to turn a routine play into a foot race that nobody wins against him. Xavier Worthy. In 2024, Xavier Worthy made history before ever playing an NFL snap. At the NFL Combine, the Texas wide receiver ran the 40-yard dash in 4.21 seconds, breaking John Ross's long-standing record of 4.22. It was the fastest electronically timed 40 in league history, and it instantly secured his place as one of the fastest players ever measured. Worthy's speed was already well known from his college days. At Texas, he consistently created separation with his burst off the line and deep ball acceleration. He showed the ability to translate that speed into real production, finishing with nearly 200 catches and over 2,700 yards in 3 seasons with the Longhorns. What makes Worthy's speed so dangerous is how it stresses defenses. He forces safeties to play deeper, corners to bail quicker, and opens lanes underneath for teammates. On special teams, his return ability adds another dimension, because one crease can mean a touchdown. As a prospect, questions about his size and frame followed him. But the one thing nobody doubts is his speed. And with his record-breaking 4.21, he doesn't just have football speed. He has the fastest official time anyone has ever clocked in the NFL's most famous test, Darrell Green. Drafted by Washington in 1983, Green built his entire Hall of Fame career on speed. At just 5'9", he didn't have the size of other corners, but his acceleration and recovery burst made him nearly impossible to beat deep. Stories of his track times floated around the league. He was said to run the 40-yard dash in the 4.2-second range, and on the field it showed. Green's speed wasn't a short-term weapon. He maintained it year after year into his late 30s and even his 40s. One of his most famous plays came in a 1986 playoff game against the Chicago Bears, when he chased down running back Walter Payton from behind. In 1987, during a punt return touchdown against the Bears, he pulled a rib muscle mid-play, but still outran everyone to the end zone. Even into his 40s, Green was clocked running under 4.4 seconds in the 40-yard dash. His ability to maintain world-class speed across 2 decades earned him the nickname Ageless Wonder. By the time he retired in 2002 at age 42, he had played 20 seasons, won 2 Super Bowls, and made 7 Pro Bowls, all while never losing the speed that defined him. Willie Gault. Before he was a wide receiver in the NFL, Willie Gault was a world-class sprinter. He nearly qualified for the U.S. Olympic team in 1980, and he carried that track pedigree directly into football. Drafted by the Chicago Bears in 1983, Gault became one of the fastest players in the league from the moment he arrived. He reportedly ran the 100 meters in 10.1 seconds and brought that same speed onto the field. Defenses had to respect him as a deep threat on every snap, because if he got a clean release, no cornerback could keep up. His best NFL years came with the Bears during their mid-80s dominance. In 1985, he helped Chicago win Super Bowl 20, stretching defenses so Walter Payton and the ground game had more room to operate. He wasn't a high-volume receiver, but his ability to flip the field with one catch changed the way defenses lined up. Gault later extended his career with the Raiders, where his speed still showed even as he entered his 30s. He finished with over 6,600 receiving yards, 44 touchdowns, and countless highlight plays where he simply ran by defenders. Even after retiring, Gault stayed connected to track and masters competitions, proving his speed was more than just an NFL storyline. It was a lifelong gift. Ron Brown was one of the rare athletes who succeeded at the highest levels of both track and football. Before the NFL, Brown was an Olympic sprinter. At the 1984 Los Angeles Games, he won a gold medal as part of the U.S. 4x100-meter relay team that set a world record. He also placed fourth individually in the 100 meters, proving he was among the fastest men alive. That same year, Brown joined the Los Angeles Rams as a wide receiver and return specialist. His track speed translated immediately. He was a threat to score anytime he touched the ball. In 1985, he returned 3 kickoffs for touchdowns and averaged nearly 33 yards per return, earning Pro Bowl honors. His ability to outrun entire coverage units made him one of the most feared special teams players of the decade. On offense, he was primarily used as a deep threat, stretching defenses vertically with pure speed. While he never put up huge receiving numbers, his presence opened space for others and kept safeties on high alert. Brown's dual sport career made him unique. Few players have ever reached the pinnacle of track and then immediately become an NFL playmaker. His Olympic pedigree and NFL highlight reel ensure that Ron Brown will always be remembered as one of the purest speedsters in league history. Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson may be the greatest raw athlete to ever play in the NFL, and his speed at his size made him a legend. At 6'1" and 230 pounds, Bo looked like a power back. But in 1986 at the Auburn Pro Day, he reportedly ran a 4.12 second 40-yard dash, a time that, if officially recorded, would stand as the fastest ever for any player of his size. Even if you take the hand timing with caution, everyone who saw him agreed. Bo was built like a tank, but ran like a sprinter. In the NFL with the Raiders, that combination created highlight reels that still circulate decades later. His famous 91-yard Monday Night Football run against the Seahawks showcased everything: acceleration through the hole, long stride breakaway speed, and the ability to simply outrun defensive backs with better angles. Even seasoned veterans admitted Bo's speed felt different. Once he got to the edge, he was gone. He was also a Major League Baseball outfielder, where he regularly beat throws with pure sprint speed. Few athletes in history have carried Olympic-level speed in a frame that strong, and fewer still have done it while excelling in 2 professional sports. Bo Jackson's career was cut short by a hip injury, but the legend of his speed lives on. Cliff Branch. Cliff Branch was the definition of a deep threat. Playing for the Oakland Raiders from 1972 to 1985, he turned speed into a weapon that stretched defenses long before modern spread offenses existed. Branch had legitimate track credentials before football. At the University of Colorado, he was an NCAA sprint champion and reportedly ran the 100 meters in under 10 seconds. That track explosiveness carried directly onto the field. Defenders simply couldn't keep up when he went vertical, and Raiders quarterback Ken Stabler took full advantage of it. Branch's peak came in the mid-1970s, when he led the NFL in receiving touchdowns twice and receiving yards once. In 1974, he had 1,092 yards and 13 touchdowns, numbers that were extraordinary in a run-heavy era. His ability to take the top off defenses forced opponents to play deeper than they wanted, which opened up Oakland's bruising ground game. He was also a postseason performer. Branch helped the Raiders win 3 Super Bowls, catching key touchdowns in January when defenses were supposed to be at their best. Even into his 30s, his speed remained intact, and he retired with over 8,600 yards and 67 touchdowns. Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert's NFL journey is as much about persistence as it is about speed. Undrafted in 2015, he bounced around 6 different teams, before finally finding a home with the San Francisco 49ers. Once he got consistent playing time, the league quickly learned just how fast he was. Mostert has legitimate track credentials. At Purdue, he was a Big Ten sprinter who posted elite 60-meter and 100-meter times. That track burst translated perfectly to football. When the NFL began tracking player movement with GPS, Mostert consistently ranked among the league's fastest ball carriers. In fact, he holds multiple top speeds recorded in-game, including a 23.09 miles per hour run in 2020, one of the fastest ever clocked. His signature moment came in the 2019 NFC Championship game when he rushed for 220 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Packers. On several of those runs, he simply outran the defense to the edge, making world-class athletes look a step slow. Even into his 30s, Mostert's speed hasn't faded. In 2023 with the Miami Dolphins, he posted career highs in rushing touchdowns and remained one of the league's most explosive playmakers.